Hi, welcome everyone to Agents at Work, a podcast where we discuss the latest news and breakthroughs of AI and AI agents. I am Jordi Montes, your host, and today we're really happy to introduce Christopher David, founder and CEO of OpenAgents. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Jordi. Thanks for having me.
Could you tell us a bit more about OpenAgents?
Sure. OpenAgents is an applied AI lab building the software and infrastructure products for the agentic economy, specifically on open protocols. We're going to be, the idea kind of began as like hey, let's do what OpenAI is doing, except actually open. That's the initial thrust of it.
That's a really interesting take already. So I would like to start this podcast as I will do with all the other ones, that it's starting by asking what is an agent?
Awesome. I love giving very overly simplistic answers to this question. It's a thing. It's like a magic thing that does what you ask it to do. It's software. It uses LLMs. I try to specifically not give technical jargony answers. It's a thing that you ask it to do things and it does stuff in the world. It's got access to APIs, LLMs, the things that it needs to have to do what you want. It's a piece of software that does what you ask it to do.
Okay, so kind of what compilers do for code, that they take the code that you write and, they write the program for doing that. But instead of just having a binary, they actually go and act in the real world kind of thing?
Sure, but it is specifically a thing that you can delegate some of your human agency to, that it then goes and does things in the world. I think that's probably a little different than how certain of the people that think that they're birthing some sort of AGI god are going to be this alternate life form that's doing things on its own. I really view agents in terms of it's a thing that empowers and augments human agency. So it's just a software process that you as a human can delegate some of your agency to, and you can spin up 100 of them very easily.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much how I would define them too, because I have seen people basically projecting, saying well, it's like a new entity that, interacts about the world and doesn't have any owner kind of. But I think that overall, and at the start point, is going to be more we delegate things to them and they are able to achieve the goals that are set by a human. Okay, so what have you been working on lately?
Let's see. Most recently, we've been taking the coding agent software that we've been using internally and for a few kind of private business clients and turning that into a platform that will be publicly available. I think, and this could change tomorrow, but I think we're about to launch the most advanced coding agent, mostly autonomous coding agent, pretty much the only one. It's kind of like Devin, except actually good. I'll wait to make that claim until we actually ship and deploy. But just that idea of you're giving an agent a high level task and it goes and does it for you with some human oversight. But that oversight is kind of decreasing over time as I'm able to take the results of the experimentation that I've been doing over the last few months, taking the kinds of things that I have been doing to oversee it and automating those processes. But the goal is to get to the point where you can have literally anybody, including non-developers, be able to ask for something, a project, a web application, whatever that is, and the agent will go and kind of build it for you. In our case, it's through direct connection to the GitHub API, so you don't need to have an editor or any fancy software. It's just you use openagents.com and magic happens.
Okay, so the interface for that, because when I hear about coding agents, it's a pretty hot topic right now, that there are many people trying to implement them, and there are different levels. There is people like Cursor, that is well, it's in your editor, and then they call it an agent somehow. It's the composer thing. Before it was a chat interface and it was not an agent. Now there is a chat interface, but in another tab, it's actually an agent. That I guess that it's because it touches different parts of the code. This is not exactly what you would be building. It would be through a web interface.
Yeah, I think IDEs are the wrong direction. What's this quote I just saw today? Don't build for, today, build for tomorrow and 5 years from now. What are engineers going to be doing? I think people are generally not going to be sitting in their editors. I think that, code generation is going to replace the editor largely, or that's just not going to be the appropriate interface. What tells me that something is going in the wrong direction is when complexity is added onto interfaces that are clearly designed for humans, like VS Code. If you're forking VS Code, which is already this kind of complex piece of software from Microsoft with all the trade-offs that they've chosen to make, And then you're layering all this other stuff on there to like kind of empower the human, but then add all this other agentic stuff. There's so much cognitive overhead that goes into that. I just think it's going in the wrong direction. And, look at another Microsoft product we reviewed in one of my videos recently, the GitHub Copilot Workspaces thing, where the interface is, I'm a developer, I've been using GitHub for 20 plus years, and their interface is so complex, all these bells and whistles and branches. It's like, now I have to learn all this stuff? No, it should be as simple as you say a thing and it happens, and with some amount of oversight to like drill down and to see what actually is happening with whatever level of detail that you're comfortable with to kind of steer it better. But fundamentally, the interfaces should be simplifying over time. If you're adding complexity, I think you're going in the wrong direction. A lot of this stuff can and should be abstracted. So what we think the appropriate interface for this ultimately is going to be a mobile app. It's on your phone. It's a thing that you can talk to. So in the kind of short to medium term for OpenAgents, we're doing kind of a twofold interface. One is our web application, which is more for power users, people like me that really want to get in and steer things with a maximum level of control and like kind of data in your face. But then we're separately working on a mobile app we're calling ONYX. And the vision for that is basically like your own personal Jarvis in your pocket. It's voice first. There's not a lot of bells and whistles or things that you can do. It's as simple as you're talking to it and then things happen. The magic then happens in the background because we're connecting this into the decentralized marketplace that's extensible, and other people are going to be writing agent plugins and all this stuff for. But a lot of that stuff really just should not be surfaced to users. Power users to start, yes, but then, we want to get to the point where literally anybody in the world can just whip out an app and have access to AGI, if you want to call it that, on their phone and not need to sweat the details.
Okay, about ONYX, because you put like a lot of stuff already out there. So there is this web interface that it's an agent that it's targeting coding, but then ONYX is a mobile app that it's also an agent, and you said like it's connected to APIs. Is ONYX like focused on coding too? Because that would be like the first time that I heard something like that. Like something that you can talk to and it's your phone and it's targeting coding versus something that is more generic.
The first 4 tools that ONYX has are the 4 primary tools that I use for 80% of my day-to-day development, which are 4 GitHub APIs: view file, view folder, create file, rewrite file. The majority of the time that I spend, my agents are using those tools to traverse a GitHub repo and make edits directly to that. That has been good, and that's been fitting into the patterns of the Vercel AI SDK, which we've used heavily until recently. Now just kind of chafing it against certain of the limitations of that, recognize that like I actually want my own version of this that can do things like better support for asynchronous actions. So the interfaces that we put out in the past, they've really required you to sit in your browser and watch it, and if you kill the tab, it's gone. But, what does the framework that's more suited for asynchrony look like? Where I say a thing, I want to go AFK and come back in an hour. I want to have it like send me push notifications, that kind of thing. ONYX we're going to keep in beta. It's an open beta right now. Anyone's welcome to go and download it and join the beta at openagents.com for Android and iOS. We're going to keep that in kind of open beta for probably a number of months still, because by the time that we release it, we want it to be a little bit more mainstream friendly. So the types of people right now that are downloading DeepSeek because they're curious, because they like that the model's like talking to them and they can see more of the reasoning stuff or have more transparency into what the model or agent is doing than what OpenAI's products offer. For example, we are specifically starting with the use case of coding because this has been an answer to the question that we asked when we've launched previous MVPs. We launched an MVP of an agent store, almost a year ago now, which is like, okay, but we have this great way for people to extend agents and have a marketplace. We built a little Bitcoin rev share mechanism, and that all worked, but we didn't have any real buy-side demand because we had not yet answered the question of like, but really, what is the use case for which people are going to want to slap down a credit card and pay thousands of dollars per month, ideally? Does that use case exist? Hopefully it does. We definitely think the answer now is absolutely yes, and it's coding agents or, software engineers on demand. So, over the last few months, about half of the work that I've been doing has been working with kind of private business clients just to make sure that like we're able to take their need and make sure our product like really fits that. And one kind of like illusion of mine that was broken was, the pro interface where I'm kind of our power user interface. That's been really hard to kind of get maybe some non-technical business people or entrepreneurs up to speed to the like climb the learning curve that I have, because it's some rough edges to it. There's some little gotchas and things, and it's like I need to make this as simple as possible for this person. So, but what I've recognized is that the process that I kind of walk some of these business people through, as well as some of the things that I do for myself, which is, okay, you build your CI process, and so you ask the agent to make a change, you run it through these tests. If the tests fail, have it do it again. And once you can identify kind of what that agentic loop is, from taking the user's request, turning that into a spec, turning that into a plan, turning that into milestones, turning that into unit tests and testable code, all you really need to do as it like does a few of those steps, and like the bulk of the work that I do day to day literally is take the test feedback and say like, you messed this up, do this again. And that's like the majority of my day, is just like overseeing these agents. Is like, this is very easy to automate. So that's kind of like what I've been working on most recently, is kind of building this version of a backend, which we're building entirely in Rust. Happy to talk more about tech stack decisions there, but loving the fact that I can ask for all sorts of crazy, hairy changes. If anything breaks, it won't compile. So it's very easy to just say, fix this, fix this, fix this, even if it takes a few tries. Particularly now with models like DeepSeek, where you can get 95 of the intelligence of Sonnet for 5% of the cost. You can do all sorts of looping and like let that process basically run as long as it needs to. It doesn't take an hour. It takes seconds or minutes. And just this needs to be just strung together in an interface that a person, starting with a developer, soon to be a non-technical person, can ask for things, look at the output, modify it as needed, but have like actual working production ready software come out on the other side. That's the main thing that we want to solve first. Once we have that paying use case and we have a platform, people are like, I'm getting value from this, I want to do more of this. That's when we're going to start bringing back in the marketplace ideas of developer who knows some particular RAG algorithm, data source, third-party integration, whatever that is. If you want to build that and make that available to our agents as a tool in some registry, maybe it's on Nostr, whatever that is, here's your piece of the revenue from people who use that. And then we just let the market form from there.
Okay, something that was interesting to me is like you said that you started, like, for example, building on this area, a marketplace for agents 1 year ago. So you were already like pretty early. And now you say like with the new DeepSeek, that it's a new model, the Chinese model that they dropped about like 1 week ago. I think that it was the web UI, but it was like end of December when they released like for first time, like we did this. And it has this chain of thought with the R1. And then you can get the intelligence or something that it's as smart for your use case as Sonnet for 5% of the price. So this is a pretty like steep change. Like this doesn't happen in many technologies that, you know, like, well, you go to the gym, when you come back, by the way, everything like dropped like 95%. So in this year, is this something that you have seen in multiple areas? And on top of that, in an area multiple times, would you expect this to keep happening?
Well, I think the pattern that I've observed, at least for the stuff that I pay most attention to, which is like, what is the model that's best for coding and what is the like kind of UI UX that's best for code generation and like accelerating development workflows. And the kind of original trade-offs, as I, 2 years ago started using ChatGPT heavily, Sonnet came out, and like for a time, the first Claude 3, Sonnet and Opus models were the best at coding. So I'm like paying Anthropic over here and OpenAI over here, $20 a month. And I'm like, okay, they both have APIs. Let me just like pull these both into one product. And so that was like OpenAgents version 1. And that was like, that accelerated me more than the other two at the time. So at the beginning, it was just sort of like this arbitrage of like whatever's the best, having that be in one place. But then Sonnet 3.5 came out, and that was like so much better. And it's just been this constant like chicken and egg of like, what's the best, chasing the best model for the last, 6 months or so. Sonnet 3.5 have found nothing that is able to beat that. They did their like 3.6 or 3.5 V2 thing that was even better. And it's been really hard to get away from that. A problem with Sonnet, two problems. One is closed source. I don't support or trust the ethics or morals or regulatory capture strategy of their CEOs. I'm strongly distrustful of it. I think Anthropic has been doing a few good things with the model context protocol. They're starting to like at least get a little bit of the protocol bug. Happy to see, but generally I distrust the company. Sad that I'm like dependent on this company that could flip a switch and turn me off tomorrow. And the cost. I'm spending today maybe $50+ per day just on Sonnet credits. For good use, I'm getting the equivalent of hundreds or thousands of dollars worth of like really serious engineering done, but it is expensive, and that's a big limiting factor. And so to come back and see that like this model R1 is absolutely amazing, maybe not quite as intelligent in terms of raw power, maybe not as good at coding as Sonnet, but 95% the quality is my rough estimate. Open source, I can use the open version. I can host it anywhere, use it wherever I want via various API providers, or I can distill it. I have the option of, apparently some dude said you can like buy hardware for $6,000 and deploy it yourself, or deploy it to Hugging Face for $200 a day. I've got plenty of options that solves my platform risk concern. And then the cost is the big one, because if you have a model that is 95-ish% of the intelligence of the top model, but it's 5% of the cost, then you can string a few of those calls together to build context or interact with context in a given way before you produce the final result. So, and I don't have like fully a demo of this because it's all fully just out a week ago and we're still kind of integrating it into our systems, but I'm fairly certain that the level of intelligence and output is going to end up being way, way, way better than Sonnet, not incremental improvements. Everything to this point has been basically incremental improvements. For Sonnet, everything's been like, wow, that's better. Everything has been a step change. But I think now that we have a model where the cost is approaching zero, and we can string that together in all sorts of different ways, where it's also just now more, worth my time to go in there and like really, implement graph rag finally, or some of these other like retrieval mechanisms for really stuffing the best context in, letting the agent take multiple, that maybe smartly build the context. So instead of just dumping entire file contents, I'm able to just have the agent do a lot smarter things that I think it's going to be literally not just a step change, or maybe just a gigantic step above Sonnet. So that's what I hope to be sort of powering the engine of this platform that we're going to be rolling out in February. We'll see how kind of fast we are able to roll that out. I'm days, not weeks away from having this kind of process that I go through be like somewhat more or less automated. I'm going to be doing a video. I'm on track to doing a video next week where I'm going to set up agents to run overnight and then like hopefully show off like 10 completed pull requests the morning after. That'll be that's the video I'm most excited to record right now.
Nice. Yeah, something that many people don't seem to notice is like, even right now that the models are getting like a bit better, because we are doing this inference time computing. They are thinking for a while. So it's not only the raw power of the model, it's actually let it iterate and discover more things while it's executing. If you tie this to, or couple it with things like Cerebras, that it's able to do thousands of tokens per second, I think that we already have here something that is different than anything humans produced ever. Because for first time, you can just like plug this to a model of the ones that we already have. And then if you have tens of thousands of tokens per second that are modifying a code base, after a week, you have the code base that evolved more than any of the code bases that humans ever worked on. So, it has more changes and more thought than...
It's huge. But then, and what you've just described is, generating still next tokens during the inference time compute, but who's to say that what happens during inference time only needs to be drawn from the model? Here is where there should be the plugin registry where it can dynamically retrieve the latest plugins using algorithms that we're not even going to necessarily write, but like just train it to use Nostr, for example. Here's relays where there's the best plugins hosted. Find one that, this one was just released 17 seconds ago from a trusted pub key, and that is the best for what you need right now. Try that out, where the steps that an agent can take are now not just based on the accumulated training data of like the compressed knowledge of humanity to that point is basically what an LLM is, but to also then be able to draw from information that and tools that are evolving and being built and rebuilt in real time. Stuff is going to get crazy. But here's the thing that's going to, I think, set us massively apart from OpenAI, or as we call them, closed AI, and the other closed labs. And you're starting to see them take a lot of flack for this recently, is they hide the chain of thought tokens. So the big thing, I think one of the reasons why DeepSeek has gone so viral, including among consumers, regular normies, is that I see these, texts from like Gen Z people like saying how cute it is that DeepSeek will like show you what it's thinking. And like, it sounds like cute and novel, but like, that's really important. If you're going to be, particularly if you're going to be adding agents based upon this into your business, making decisions potentially about healthcare, are you just going to trust that some shady closed source lab has your best interest at heart and you're just going, okay, it says this, let me just believe it? No, you're going to want to know exactly what the agent is thinking. And so a whole bunch of people are now like yelling at OpenAI, like, why are you still hiding the chain of thought? Well, because in their mind, because not as much compute is needed, you don't need all this post-training budget that if people were able to distill from that chain of thought, they'll be able to more easily reproduce. I don't envy the position that they are in as a company that is now $157 billion, and I just don't see how they're going to be able to sustain that valuation moving forward. But I don't care. We're building, from the ground up in open ways where, to be able to have that level of openness and transparency that's going to add to a lot of trust, particularly that we are apparently, you and I and a few other folks are some of the only people building this on truly neutral, open protocols, which in my view is just a prerequisite to there being this truly open, global, decentralized, agentic substrate that kind of can connect and be available to all people. It has to be open. It has to be neutral. It's Bitcoin. It's Lightning. It's key and metadata architecture deriving from, Bitcoin-based public key cryptography. Right now, Nostr is number one for that. That could evolve or change over time, but like that combination of like, here's a neutral substrate, and oh, wait a second, we can very easily come up with specifications where me and you and some other people can all be like having our agents speak the same language. We get that, sometime in the spring. I predict we'll see a lot of more collaboration like that. Once we get 2, 3, 4, 5 of the top agent projects building similarly like that, it's going to snowball. Who else is going to lead it? No one with a shitcoin is going to lead it because everyone's got competing. It's like we're perfectly positioned because we're not competing over the base layer, or our incentives are correct for all of that. It's going to get crazy. This is the year of agents for sure. For sure.
That makes sense. Yeah, I have seen like many people that are doing like crypto AI, and then they are launching their own tokens and things like that, and meme coins. And I just don't see how that's AI at all. Like I just see them like, okay, it's like a kind of affinity scam, like saying
and
like, what?
First of all, you look at the use cases. Almost all of all of those projects are all this kind of internal facing circle jerk about people. Oh, you can like create your own token, and then you can trade tokens faster. And it's like, it's hilarious because you've got even Brian Armstrong from Shitcoin Casino Coinbase saying, oh, we may need to revise our listing process now that there's like millions of tokens. Well, the AI agent economy, the people that are doing crypto stuff, that problem's only going to compound. Literally, there's no enduring value in projects other than Bitcoin. There are people like me. I used to be a shitcoiner 7 years ago, but like there's a brain drain from people who are smart, who have been smart, who've been in crypto for a time, being like, oh, wait a second. I see that the kinds of things that I had been attracted to crypto are actually being done in Bitcoin with a basis of security and stability built in layers over time. Like Bitcoin wins. It's sad to see so many people distracted by bullshit, but good from a competition standpoint because we're able to get in there and build the things that need to be built over time. But I think particularly as you start seeing real revenue flowing through our ecosystem, money talks. If people have a choice between being paid in the hardest money, the hardest non-inflating asset ever to exist, or like some person's Chuck E. Cheese token, like they're going to opt for real money increasingly.
Yeah, to be fair, like you are one of the most opinionated and strong, stands that I ever met on openness. And that happens like with cryptocurrencies, like you really don't like shitcoins and things like that. And then it's like full Bitcoin, open, decentralized for real. Then also, like when you criticize OpenAI, like that's one of your main points that you say, like, well, they are not truly open. When we say OpenAI, they are not open as OpenAgents. OpenAgents, it's really, really open. Like it's trying to play nice with others. It's trying, like to bring community in. And something that I've never seen before is this idea of building public in the way you do it. Because with OpenAgents, you have been building it in public for a while. And I think that you even have like some videos since like more than 1 year ago saying like, okay, I'm set to build this. this is what we're going to build here, guys. And they can actually follow you doing it and even interact with you and even participate.
Yeah, I think we're on episode 106 or so. I do a video every few days and have for, it's been over a year. Video 1 was the day after OpenAI's Dev Day, December of 2023, where I, came to agree with Sam Altman that agents will be the future. They mentioned that. And then they also mentioned they were going to do this GPT store. They're like watered down version of agents, letting people get revenue share. And I'm like, they're going to half-ass that because they're not going to build like a marketplace. Now, that's been my background, building these sort of like censorship-resistant marketplaces. I'm like, here's where there should be a Bitcoin Lightning Nostr version of that. And that just began this whole series as we've kind of like put out different products and MVPs and have learned a whole bunch of stuff along the way. And I'm open about the building process, partly just to ensure that there's like transparency and trust around like the things that we're building and the decisions that we're making. And it's also, strategic. I want people to know the way that we're building things because I hope to lead some sort of convergence on patterns that we are developing, as well as soliciting feedback from people that are building other pieces of the puzzle like yourself. And, people reach out to me on Nostr saying like, when we started talking about the knowledge graphs of things, and someone reached out to me on Nostr and was like, hey, like they did all of this. They had this whole project, I forget the name of it, was some whole like key-based reputation graph project that could like balance. It was like a Nostr version of PageRank, and like this would be great for agents. Like, great, there's all this stuff that I don't need to build myself, that because other people are building in the same way. So it's in part to kind of find those people that are building things like that, and then fashion this together into some sort of consensus around this. I view the main thing that I hope to provide with OpenAgents is a trusted brand that people are confident in recommending their friends and friends' businesses to go and sign up. Like, oh, you're new to agents? Go to openagents.com. And we don't have this in place at all yet. It's very developer focused and still inside baseball as we're building out the foundational infrastructure. But the goal, the next 12 to 18 months is, oh, OpenAI? No. Check out openagents.com. They're actually open. It's the easiest way to get started with agents. If you are technical, here's your resources for that. Here's the docs. Have fun with it. You don't have to care about 12 different like API providers. Or if you're a consumer or you're a business, oh yeah, just you want agents. It's kind of like an Upwork for agents, but less complicated. Throw down your credit card, say what you want. Here's all the stuff that gets built. You can watch it get built if you want to, or go AFK, it doesn't matter. And stuff just happens. I want to collect the revenue, pay out a healthy percentage of that revenue to the contributors, and just do the race for network effect.
If we go and watch these videos of you building it, will we see how OpenAgent is built using OpenAgent itself? Like, you have a tool for developers. How has that been? Like, because I think the feedback loop is really interesting here. Because if I did an agent for, I don't know, human resources, how many human resource problems do I have per day? I don't. So I have to talk to clients and try to guess what they need. But in your case, you are a developer yourself. You are using the tool yourself. So how does this feedback loop help here?
Yeah, the dog fooding is definitely important, and it certainly helps kind of narrow down on what to do next, given the like rather large scope of stuff that we're taking on, is to just start by treating myself as customer number one. And so yeah, you can see it just like even in the last few videos, like I'm using the latest version of OpenAgents to kind of like build the next version, and I've got a very good workflow that I just haven't been able to replicate in other products that I've tried, where I could just literally like say, here's the spec, here's the files, here's the GitHub issue, here's the docs, and I could just like dump that in, go AFK for 60 seconds, and kind of work with it in that way. So you can see me do that on video.
It's actually pretty cool.
I forgot what I was going to say next.
Okay, no worries. So yeah, like that feedback loop has been helping you a lot, and we can see it on the videos. Where can we see the videos? It's in openagents.org.
Yeah, if you go to openagents.com, there's a link to the video series as well as the most recent videos.
Okay, so anyone who wants to start with OpenAgents, is that the best way to do it?
Well, to get started, like if you want to like actually use the thing, definitely try downloading ONYX. That's the thing that like literally anyone can do. That uses Gemini Pro. It's like decent. It's okay. You can like have some decent conversations. You can experiment if you are a developer, connecting your repo to that. I'm in the process of like connecting that to this new sort of version 4 backend, which has the WebSockets and the version 4 with the Rust and stuff like that. So I would say probably if you're listening to this before early February, like wait a week or two. But openagents.com, you're going to be able to sign up and use agents. Again, for the next few weeks, maybe months, we're going to be focused on coding and coding agents. And then separately, if you just like want to hire us to be your sort of like managed agent service provider, we're doing that for a few business clients, $500 a month and up for kind of more custom build outs.
Yeah, I think that that's a really good business because now there are many people that, like they see like this can be automated with an agent. Until now, it could not be automated because, like there was like some kind of logic that needs to be encoded there. But now that the models are getting smarter, if there are like really like simple problems, that are stacked all together, an agent can deal with them and the rest can be automated. And there is always
and let's say that there's some integration or feature that's needed that like let's say an agent either can't do it or doesn't know that it needs to be done. We should very quickly get to the point where someone who fills out a form on the website saying what they want, the agent can kind of analyze if that's something that is technically possible to be built today, or if there's some missing piece. And if there's a missing piece, let's identify what that missing piece is, and maybe that gets turned into a bounty that we're now paying a developer to build that in addition to rev share. So we've done a bounty program in the past. I like to joke, but it's serious that we've paid infinity% more developers than OpenAI has for building agent plugins and stuff. And it's like we're going to reboot that whole problem, that whole project. But again, once we get the product to the point where people that we don't already know can like happily slap down their credit card and have agents working. The first kind of like demo that I'm hoping to say, like I said, is I want to be able to show that I, as a developer, can write a GitHub issue or write 10 GitHub issues. I can unleash the agent on them. I can go AFK. I can come back to like very meaningful work done that I can largely just review and click to merge. Once I get to that point and let that run for another week or two, like I want that system to help me build up some more of the like user-facing stuff. But it should get to the point where we're able to take user requests of things that need to be built and then like have that turned into issues that then get built. And this should like actually start just evolving rapidly.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I think that flywheel, the moment it starts turning, it's going to be pretty amazing because it's actually already open agents building open agents with an oversight of a human.
Yeah. And the oversight, I mean, whether it's oversight by a human or it's oversight by humans creating agents that are doing the oversight, it's like important to stress what it is fundamentally that we're doing here. We are not trying to build some AGI god. We're not trying to wake up some new life form or make a religion or do some bullshit to like raise a few $1 billion. I want to solve problems like that humans have at scale. And so fundamentally, Open Agents is about improving and increasing human agency. These tools are really, really powerful if they're like, I don't know, structured the right way. And I just think that we have different priorities than a lot of the kind of Silicon Valley people do. I hope to make this more practical and personal while being preserving of privacy and not, building some of these Orwellian control grids that some of the other people seem to be excited about. And we'll see what happens.
Nice. And what would you say that are the main blockers right now that are outside of the scope of what you can or want to do, but that would help open agents quite a lot? For example, having better like foundational models. I guess that you're not training your models, you're using like open source ones. So, like the more work they put there, the better your company does. Like the more it's able to provide value for their users. What other missing pieces do you see that, you say like, well, I really would love that someone else built this, or that this company that already exists and does this for humans kind of changed a bit so my agents can plug in?
I'm trying to think of something that we aren't positioned to solve ourselves. So like I wanted to say, so first of all, on foundational models, none of that. I don't care. We're good. Like R1, if nothing else comes out after R1, like I'm happy. It would be nice to have, and there probably already is, like really good fine-tuning.
Sorry for interrupting here. Sorry for interrupting. What you said about R1 right now, like it's good. If we stop here, would you have said the same about Llama 3.2?
I would have been happy. I could, if you gun to the head, if I had to build our whole business only on Llama models, we could. It wouldn't be as good, but like that could be a business. And if that was state of the art for everybody, like, yeah, we could build a business on that. R1 has me like, not only can we build a business, like I see the path to, market dominance in the way that we want to do. So not models. And then I almost said, like, if someone could help us break our dependence from Microsoft products, it is so annoying when I have a great agentic loop going and then like GitHub goes down or like a centralized API provider goes down. And then there's always the risk of platform risk or being deplatformed or that kind of things. Like, I want other people, hopefully, like particularly in the Nostr space, there's been some projects I know to kind of like build decentralized versions of Git and GitHub. But I don't want to put out a request for that because I think we're probably going to end up being contributors to that. And my hope, I suppose, is that people who are really passionate about a particular use case, whether it's just use the decentralized GitHub as an example, if they can kind of put in public what they're working on and the plan to do it, and they've got some like momentum behind that, I think we'll be at the point at the latest by the middle of this year to start like throwing agents at open source projects and just like, oh, you've got like 10 GitHub issues. Let's go resolve all your GitHub issues. Like, give us some more issues. So I do see this as it's going to be a team effort. I see our path to getting all this done is pretty clear. The only kind of thing that would help us accelerate is a little bit more funding. We're about to do a crowdfunding campaign, Reg CF campaign via timestamp. And even though we've been kind of happily more or less cash flow positive for the last few months, I do want to make a few hires. I do want to like lean into developer bounties and growth generally, as well as like I'd love to be able to run R1 locally. A few $1,000s to get a rig that can run R1. Holy shit. So yeah, I think we're pretty much there. I think 2025 is going to be the year both of agents as well as people starting to recognize that building on the Bitcoin stack makes sense, not just for AI, but broadly. But I do view that intersection of Bitcoin and AI as it's both going to supercharge the Bitcoin as medium of exchange use case that some of us Bitcoiners care a lot about, as well as just demonstrating that, here we finally have, to kind of borrow a phrase from Kian from Stacker News, he has this great phrase that Bitcoin is a mechanism of coordination. And that's such a powerful idea beyond just money. It's like, this is a thing that can help people coordinate because they're incentivized to cooperate. And if you apply that into, providing some kind of unified substrate that can connect this new agentic economy, I mean, it's going to be an exciting year.
Yeah, I saw a video not long ago that sounded a bit futuristic, but I think that we are not that far from it. That was like you just mix Uber, Bitcoin, and then you have something that it's like a car that drives autonomously. So it was Uber, autonomous cars, and Bitcoin, and then you end up having something that is like, okay, I can perform some good, like something of value in this world. People can pay me, and I can survive paying, my insurance, the electricity for the engine, any reparations, etc. And 5 years ago, I would have thought like, well, this is Star Wars. Like this does not happen. Like we don't have R2-D2 kind of robots. Now we have R1. I guess that soon we will have R2-D2 among us. But it's actually like pretty cool to think about these things. But even before that, everything that agents can do already, as you said, when you were talking about helping with GitHub issues, I am sure that everyone who is an open source developer and maintains libraries, so it's not only about the contribution, but it's actually maintaining them, they are tired to review PRs and write the same things again and again because they don't want to write it. What they say, it's like, well, you go there and just read all the contributing guidelines. Like there are many things wrong here. Go to the contributing lines. And then the problem is that the person says like, well, the contributing guideline, it's huge. I don't want to read all that. PR just gets stale. It would be great if an agent at the beginning says like, well, from the guideline, there are like these 3 things that you need to change. And then eventually there's going to be another agent that's like, listen, from the guideline, I need to change these 3 things for you. And, like just make the PR. It's going to be a much faster cycle. And
agents will happily read the guidelines because it takes them a split second to do.
Yeah, you said that this year was going to be the year of agents. It's something that I heard a lot. I think that it's going to be like computers. There was one year that people were saying like, well, this year is the year of computers. And I guess that it was when many universities were buying them. And since then, every year has been the year of computers. So
to expand on it a little bit, it's like it's probably the year where agents become a thing that like mainstream users start caring about, and like oh, wow, agents. And then we're going to be living in the agentic economy like every year after. But it needs to be not run by these corporate, closed source, megacorp people with ties to government and using regulatory capture to keep out smaller players and having dubious ethics and such. So yeah, we believe that all of this needs to be built on open foundations, open source, open models, open everything. And yeah, I'm trying to also catch up to Casey Muratori, big game developer. He had a video series that went for like 650 episodes. So I'm trying to catch up to him.
Yeah, I remember his series. I didn't see them all, but yeah, he's like really, really good. And something that is really interesting is his videos are still there. This is something that people underestimate because they do something like, well, I do like a private talk or I go to a meetup and it's not recorded. And, like, well, it's only for 20 people. Anyway, it's not that important. And you say, well, actually, it may be because now we have machines that can consume all that content. So if you say something insightful, well, we don't need to reinvent it. Machines will find.
we gotta tell the AIs how they need to behave.
Would you say that 2025 is the year also where bots pay you? So you're talking about bots that, like they get paid and they are able to pay. Do you think that there are going to be like bots paying humans for doing stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some crypto-ish projects trying to do that already. And yeah, I think there's going to be things where humans will be needed to help either aim the agents or collect unique data sources. And so one proof of concept I want to build is, one of the things we're going to build is this kind of data marketplace where someone can say, look, these agents don't have a data set for certain video game books that were written in the early 2000s. But like if you go into a used bookstore and you like take some pictures, whatever, you can earn 3 stats per page. I'd love to see all sorts of things like that. And to also have agents be able to recognize like, here's a piece of data that I don't have and like, I'll pay you to go get it for me. Yeah, I think we'll see that this year too.
I have seen many companies now trying to reach this market of saying like, well, we're going to license data for agents, but it has been basically for training. I think that this year we're going to see more and more companies that actually say like, well, I am a data API, for example, Crunchbase, where you can look for, like investments and different companies. It's like, well, I want my agent to be able to access that and actually like pay the thing. I don't have a private key for it, or I don't have, like an API key. Why do I have to log in before? My agent could actually go there, pay, and then start accessing that. And it can even like overflow to me like, well, like this is going to cost only like 10 cents because now we have technology to do micropayments. So, like just go and pay. But actually, if it's a higher payment, they can just tell me like, listen, can we spend on this? In a really similar way of how a CEO of a big corporation interacts with their organization. They don't go down there to say like, well, what software are you buying? Like human resources come and say like, well, we're going to buy this because it's going to make us like more productive. And then the CEO says like, well, how much does it cost? Why is that? And there are actually like multiple levels where people like check these things and, like it needs approval. So I think that it's going to go in that direction.
And I'm excited to not evaluate any of those things at all because it'll either be ready for the agents to go and make that negotiation or not. But I'm excited to see like a whole bunch of other people building services that agents will consume. And what are open agents probably not going to do? They're not going to buy some shitcoin. They're going to want to pay in Bitcoin. And we're happy to wait for those services to be provided in Bitcoin or some Bitcoinized dollar or something like that. But no reason to do anything else. But yeah, we'll let the agents sort that out for themselves.
Excellent. So I have one extra question before we are closing. That is, you have been here for a while developing on this ecosystem. Do you have any insights that can save people to lose their time? Because I have seen many companies that they have tried to be built in this ecosystem and they get crushed when something happens. Or, they do a wrong bet from the future. So you have something to share with them. Like, guys, by the way, like this thing, it's a trend. It's not going to change. Don't swim against the tide. Do you have anything like that that can save people like time and money?
I would say, start by scratching your own itch, like solve a problem for you, start with that. And if you do that and you kind of like do that for a number of months and like try to incorporate new tools and stuff, you should get a pretty good sense of what is going to be either like replaced or not. For us, it's like there's always going to be complexity in managing large code bases. And so like, even if there's going to be agents, they still need to be there's a lot that needs to be done in terms of the management of those. But I don't know. Don't take things too seriously. Like, have some fun with it, I'd say. I'll say, Jordi, by way of closing, like the thing that I'm most excited about, kind of like we were talking about earlier, because my previous startup, I did like rideshare and try to do like this kind of like parallel gig services economy. But that really fundamentally is what I'm most excited about, is it these ideas of Bitcoin circular economies where people are buying, selling, trading, like living in a fully Bitcoinized economy that is able to live parallel to existing societies. It's great if there's governments like El Salvador and maybe the US that are supportive of that, but we have the tools, cryptography, and particularly if we're able to properly ride this AI wave of being able to build and architect that system for ourselves and live in it, and like no one's going to be able to stop us. So I want that to be available and easy to use by 10 billion people and 100 billion agents.
Excellent. So I already feel safer knowing that you are working and building that.
Excited to work with you. Jordi, thanks so much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Christopher. Have a good one.